if I take it that the definition in our industry, which is insurance industry, is like a risk, are future problems that can be avoided or mitigated rather than current ones that must be immediately addressed. This is the insurance portions. This is we define in insurance. That's the way we look into it. Whereas it was a very good rundown, which I can say that he has ensured that we're just taking a note of determining best practices for assessing risk, including liquidity risk, concentration risk, and all interest rate risk as well. One thing which I would like to ask you, Kevin, that first of all, you know that before the financial meltdown, what has happened, and even just to give a typical example, when this Mackendo blow BP, well, which has happened, you know, the rating agencies, and especially S&P, has given a very excellent rating to the entire project and to BP as well. And so, of course, there are debates, and because still they have not gone to the bottom. Once the report is consolidated and they come to the public, then we will know what has actually happened, who is the real culprits and all that. But there are accusations going on, which you see that. And this was a big debate that how come S&P has given to this company that particular point of time, you know. What I was seeing that here in this part, now I'm just drawing a parallel what has happened there. Especially in the Middle East, there is a lack of, which you say, ICAP, which is internal adequacy, capital adequacy assessment process.
Yes.
Which is. So what's your opinion on that?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Yeah. And I think what it focuses our minds upon is that ultimately the success of a company is dependent upon what management does. Regulators, insurance regulators, bank regulators set a framework for minimum capital requirements. If that minimum capital requirement is on a risk-based assessment process, as it tends to be in Europe and in North America, certain parts of Asia, then Standard & Poor's can look at those risk definitions and contrast it with its own risk-based processes to determine whether a company has sufficient capital to see it through stressed trading scenarios. I think, and I use these words very cautiously, and this is Kevin speaking, not Standard & Poor's, part of the problem of having a regulator with a risk-based framework is, as I said, it tends to drive companies to operate at, let's call it minimal capital standards, rather than having more generous capital levels. When I look at insurance companies in the Gulf region, on a risk-based capital basis by reference to the Standard & Poor's capital model, they tend to be generously capitalized. That creates other problems, because if you're generously capitalized relative to the level of underwriting risk that the company is taking, that gives you a large asset pool that needs to be invested. Hence my slide on the equity investment portfolio. So generally we do look more favorably at those insurance markets that have an active regulatory process, because it sets a benchmark line in the sand below which companies can operate, and we know that the regulator will take action to prevent, to minimize policyholder disenfranchisement. In the United Arab Emirates, it's essentially a self-regulated insurance market. So we look at the mentalities of the management team in maintaining capital levels by reference to some internal benchmark that they're working to. We are still applying in our rating method the same capital analysis techniques. So the capital analysis techniques that we are applying to Munich Re are identical to the ones that we're applying to the entities in the Gulf region. And we seek to get the same clarification of where that capital drive is going. We may not get the same level of clarity of response, but nevertheless we get an understanding of what the management team wants to do. what the management team cannot do, and that is a component part of the rating process that we're looking at. So regulation is important. Regulation is there to protect policyholders. What regulation doesn't always do is facilitate 100% reliance, dependability of an insurance company. That is ultimately up to the management team to deliver.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and it was a wonderful presentation and real knowledgeable presentation. We all probably have gained some knowledge from Kevin's experience, and definitely would like to practice also in our day-to-day affairs in our corporate business. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you.
So that was, I believe, here we have to satisfy today ourselves with this last presentation, but don't forget, there is an assessment form. You have the brochures in your hands. Please do fill that assessment form and give your own rating as not necessarily similar to S&P, your own individual rating of the people, of the speakers, their presentation skills. To wake you up, I have a joke, and this was the last joke of the session, to share with you, which comes from Bernard Shaw. You may have heard the following story that with Bernard Shaw, but you might not have noticed its relevance to insurance. Here it goes to refresh your memory. In a party, Shaw asked a dazzling lady, "Madam, I'm quite enchanted by your beauty. Would you be willing to spend one night with me if I offered $1 million? After some initial hesitation, the lady admitted that she couldn't resist the offer. Then Shaw asked, "How about $100? The lady got very upset. "What do you think about me?" she yelled. "Do I look like someone with so questionable morals?" "Lady," Mr. Shaw answered, "I think we have agreed upon that, and the only thing to clarify now is the price." With this note, thank you all to participate and showing your interest in making this event successful with your participation. Of course, we do hope and anticipate that you all have benefited from this summit and from various speakers and different areas covered here. And at the same time, I do request you all that we have missed that coffee session. So still, we will not neglect that. Of course, we had to grab that coffee session, and at the same time, we can do our social networking there as well. And today, I sign conference for the day, and we look forward again welcoming you tomorrow for the last day of the summit. Thank you all.